Hi, everybody. I am Natasha Phipps. I am excited to be here today with a very special guest who I'll introduce in a moment. Sorry for the technical issues. Facebook has decided they don't like Zoom as much anymore, but we figured it out. So we're happy to be here for another Investor Spotlight, where we like to shine a light on some of our amazing clients that we have here investing in the Calgary area. And we like to talk about all different types of strategies and why people got into real estate and what their journey is all about. So today we are joined with the incredible Erica Cormier, and she's in Calgary. We sometimes have guests from outside of Calgary, but she is here, and I'm just so happy to have you here. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Erica has been doing some amazing projects. We have covered a lot of different topics and strategies on this in this group so far, but really today we're going to be focusing on a few things. One is we want to learn about you and kind of how you got into real estate. And we'll talk more about strategies and what's next for you and what you kind of got going on. So does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. So right before this, we were chatting, and you guys are in for a treat. Erica has so many cool kind of stories and insights, and you're so young and you've done so much, but tell me a little bit about kind of your background, where you come from, and how you got into this real estate investing space.
Well, it started all back when I was a child, and my parents were all for child labor and put me and my brother and sister to work from a young age. We basically bought this like old cottage and renovated it. My dad pretty much knew everything. My brother was so inspired, he became a carpenter. And I remember peeling 2 layers of peel and stick tiles off a kitchen floor, roofing. My dad teaching me how to cut with the paintbrush and painting, to the point where then I would fire him saying, "No, you're not good enough. You're too old now. You don't have a steady hand." So he really inspired us in the DIY, renovations, and being able to feel like we could do anything. And when I first decided to buy a house, I said, well, I'm going to do this smart. My first house, I said, no, I'm going to somewhat house hack. I wanted to buy a house that had access for a basement suite. And so I just wanted to make sure there was that side door, and so many growing pains with the first one. I'm sure many people can understand, to the point where it was even not the greatest when I was renovating it as well for myself, because I was planning on occupying the main floor, whereas my strategy has changed. So you end up investing a little bit more when you're not doing it for business.
Yes.
It was just that project. It took a lot of time, because I lived in it and I learned, how crappy it is to live in a renovation project. But that's what made me realize that I could really, there was a lot of potential there. Once I got tenants in the basement and decided I'm going to rent out the main floor, and how much I was able to get for rent for that. And Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
Everybody's got that one too under their belt.
For sure.
So there's been a few inspirations along the way, but that's the big ones.
I can relate so much to your story as a child. I mean, my parents were very much like that, like even now they don't slow down on the weekends or evenings. Like they work all day, and then they're working on their own projects, like, hard work. When you grew up around that definitely inspires you as you get older, and what you learn through that is so incredible. And the first property you bought, was this in Calgary?
Yes.
You're talking about, okay.
Yeah.
So you went through the whole suite process with the city and really everything like that, right?
Yeah. It's I learned a lot from city inspections, and I have a lot of different experience from that. And one of the biggest takeaways I got was actually finding an app called Magic Plan for floor plans, because they want you to submit floor plans to the city for approval.
Yeah.
And that was great, to the point where it helped me just design, because you can even scan your room, and it basically estimates the measurements to very close to, and you can edit any measurements. You can put in a tub find the tub, put in the exact measurements for the tub, for your shower, for your vanity, move them all around, put in a pocket door or a swing door. And I had a very hard bathroom to remodel, and the space was just very hard to optimize, and the pocket door was the secret for that one. But that floor plan really helped with the city permits, and getting to know the inspectors was interesting. There's a bunch of different ones, but you know what? One of the greatest things I got to tell you guys is if you don't ask, you won't receive. And it's a city inspector, but I literally was having issues with, he wanted me to install a backflow valve for the entire basement.
Yeah.
And so I jackhammered in the concrete, and I see that this backflow valve is got to be right next to, like, inches away from my main water line coming into the house and all these things. I messaged him by email and text message throughout the weekend. He's a master plumber. It's a great resource that you have. And maybe not all of them are up to that, but like I said, you don't ask, you won't receive. And I asked him to clarify things, and he was basically, I had a mentor plumber helping me be successful and pass my inspections, which is great because they understand that I'm a homeowner and I'm trying to learn, but also do things the right way and want the city to be happy, so everybody's happy.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, you want them on your side. You want them to be working with you. Absolutely. So kind of larger vision for you. What's driving you with this kind of real estate? We obviously talked about your foundational bit, and you're a big fan of sweat equity and the work that you put in. And we'll also talk about some of your tricks and tips for working with a budget. But what's the driver here? Are you wanting to build?
I want to do many things. I want to try. There's so many strategies out there. From BRRRR to rent to own is an amazing strategy. I would love to do developments down the road, right? I'm trying to kind of build my empire slowly but surely, and I'm a really hard worker. I have my salary right now that's, stable income that the banks love. So my goal is eventually not to need that salary, but also to use it as efficiently as I can for my early years to try to aggressively, being single, I can really aggressively save and aggressively put my money where I want to for my real estate. And financial freedom is I think all of our goals, to have the choice to choose how to work and to make your money work for yourself. I'd really love, being a private lender down the road, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I am blown away when I talk to people your age, like you're in your early 30s, if that's okay to say. You have done so much already, and these, even if you stopped right here, even if you're like, nah, I'm done, I got a few places, I got a few tenants, even if you did that and nothing else at all, the level at which you have kind of surpassed, the average, unfortunately, person out there who's not taking control of their financial future, you're like way ahead of them, right? You're at the point where people are in their 50s starting to kind of think about this. So like huge props to you. And I get so excited talking to younger people taking control of this and really going after it, because it's there, right? Like you can do so much by just, a few hard sacrifices, will pay off for decades of your life. So that's super exciting. I can't wait to see more what you do with things, but you're at the tail end of kind of wrapping up a project right now. And before this, we were talking a little bit, but I'm not sure, maybe I'll post some photos of some of the things you have posted recently in the chat in the group, but you've got some really great before and afters, but the point of your post is that they're affordable before and afters, right? So what are your kind of secrets and tips and things that people should consider if they're trying to really make their dollar go further? And materials right now are extremely expensive. So I think we're all feeling that pressure of how can we make our money go further?
Yeah. Well, first things first, before you even get to renovations, buying a house, like buying a property, I learned from my first one, layout is so important, because as soon as you go and say, oh, I'm going to take out this wall, I'm going to take out that wall, like I see that on the TV and I'm just like stressed out. There's plumbing vents and electrical and just headaches, just so many headaches behind there. And you have to be strategic about it, right? So just knowing what potential a house has and kind of being able, that's kind of my vision when I go shopping for houses. I can have a vision and be like, I know what strategic ways I can really make this place feel modern. I know everybody knows kitchen and bath is a big one, but you want the space to be livable long-term for tenants, to keep them happy. If a tenant is bothered by something all the time, they're going to want something better and newer, you know, a few years down the road. So I've lucked out with really good tenants, and I want to keep them happy, and I try to do a lot of customer service that way. But I don't want to have I don't want to attract tenants that are necessarily okay in living in a very outdated, you know, scummy place. I want people who take pride in having a nice place and want to keep it clean, and if your place looks clean, they'll do that. So the place I found was actually in Montgomery, which is close to downtown Calgary, and I think is a really booming place, just judging by all the builds that are happening around my current house. Everything's pretty much new, and fourplexes are going up. There's some vacant lands where they've taken down some things. So mine, I don't think is necessarily a tear down, because if you tore mine down, you wouldn't be able to build any extra units. So I think it's got some long-term there, and it already has the basement suite legalized. So I think it's relatively a good investment to try to keep long-term. It's also got stucco on the outside, like everything else that's brand new. So I'll just paint it one of the new colors, and it'll just blend in nicely, and really good square footage. It's big, right? A lot of the old houses are tiny. Yes. So when I went in there, you know, it had an extremely outdated kitchen, really dark, but it had these huge windows where it couldn't get any of the light from these big windows coming in. And so all I did was just take off half a wall and have a bar hanging over for the kitchen. I kept the original cabinets. I peeled off the wood and put melamine strips on it, so it was all nice and crisp white, and got new gloss faces. And new faces is a lot less labor and a lot less landfill, you know, ripping out cabinets and stuff like that. And there's a lot less headaches for a kitchen, right? When everything's already installed and fitting properly. There's always going to be headaches. You know, the dishwasher was leaking. I had to peel off a layer of subfloor and do some mold remedy, which was not fun. But now it's got a crisp new, you know, the vinyl sheet flooring. It's just so easy for any homeowner to slap on. It just comes in a roll. It's cushiony. It's warm. It's not cold like tile. It looks like faux tile. You just glue it down, and it actually is very durable. If you drop a knife or something, it heals almost. So it's waterproof, which is great. So it was $90 for the 2 bathrooms. I got 2 end of the roll pieces. And so that's flooring. I got like probably like $300 for new flooring for the kitchen and the 2 bathrooms. There was hardwood floor throughout, so that was great. So just a little bit of optimization that I did, but also the vanity in the master bathroom was extremely outdated. And I just went on Facebook Marketplace and got what looks like a new vanity. You wouldn't know that it's not brand new from the store, from IKEA. Nice white gloss cabinet for $150. The vanity light, which I found out later was from Costco, that's $25 on Facebook Marketplace. And that's something that will really modernize a bathroom, just a vanity alone, and a new mirror, right? Just rip out the old mirror and put in a nice, you know, something with a frame or whatever. And it's that alone, and fixtures, paint. That makes a huge difference too. So I try to do, and then one other thing about paint and lighting, light fixtures, depending on what look you're going for and design, because I like to think I have a certain type of design that I like, but that's not everybody's cup of tea. People don't often know that there's different light types, like 2000K to 5000K, sometimes even 6000K. And that's like it's not the actual brightness, it's the color of the light. Because
Right.
you can have a 5000K that's not very bright. That comes down to wattage and such. But when you have, for example, if I have red and I have a yellow light, it's now going to turn this red more yellow.
Yes.
And unfortunately, yellow can outdate a lot of things. So if everything's not completely up to date, it'll make things look a lot yellower. And so I try to put in white colored lights, or neutral daylight is what they call it. And I find just doing that with a nice neutral color of paint really modernizes the place. Both houses that I bought had yellow light throughout. And if I just changed the light fixtures, the place would look so much better just by having that daylight. And they even have them now where you can select the color. So if your tenants want to change it, if they have a baby and they want the soft white, they can just go and flick it to the other setting, which is great.
Yeah, I was actually looking at those the other day for our basement. We just did a small reno down there. But yeah, that's, I mean, those small things. And even if you're, like you said, you're not doing a renovation, just swapping out some lights or light bulbs and making sure they all match, like not 10 different colors of light in the house, right? Or
Yeah.
3. And in a bathroom, like no woman putting on her makeup wants a bright yellow light, you know, like that's not good. So that's huge. And for photographs, right? When you're photographing a place to attract a nice tenant, you want it to look bright and as modern as possible, and a white light versus yellow goes a long, long way. So Facebook Marketplace is something you talked about. There is so much on there that can be done if you spend the time on there, for sure, whether you're looking for kids clothes or bike or vanity, like there's everything on there. So taking advantage of that, you know, obviously when you're talking about those numbers, we're talking about hundreds of dollars here to do a bathroom is unbelievable.
I don't know if you've seen my bathroom in my previous house, but I have a freestanding soaker tub that is just like, that was my picture that I put on my listing because it was like, it just sold the place really. And I got it for $100 on Kijiji it was brand new in the box still, and seamless freestanding tub, but it had a small crack just at the top above the water line, and it wasn't even through and through, and I just paid a repairman to fix it, right?
Wow.
Like, my mom said, oh, you're not gonna get your money back by doing that, you know. And then the shower at Costco is like $600, right, plus the tile for that one. The vanity I also got on Kijiji, which was staged, so it was never even used. And I just really luck out, and I've earned myself the nickname Kijiji Queen for quite some time now. Even before I owned a house, I was Kijiji Queen because I would just Kijiji Queen everything. I could like flip things, and yeah.
Oh yeah. And you're repurposing things, right? Like there's something to be said about not just throwing everything out and starting anew when there's plenty of things out there, plenty of materials and resources out there. And again, like I had mentioned at the beginning of this, there's a shortage of materials, whether it's appliances, flooring, it's paint. Even the paint I just had for my basement wasn't available. The one that I requested, it was going to be a couple weeks, so I had to choose something else. So getting creative while you can out there, and repurposing things that are out there, huge way to
or
save.
Putting your waste for free, because you know your garbage could be somebody else's gold. So, you know, my vanity was outdated, but somebody else might need one because they don't have one at all. So it saves the landfill. It saves me money to bring it to the landfill, and it helps somebody else by putting things for free. So I'm a really big believer in reuse, recycle in whatever way you can. So
yeah, love that. Now, the properties that you have, you're self-managing as well, right?
Correct.
So you're the landlord. And I wanted to go back because we kind of skipped over because I didn't want to interrupt you, but you called your tenant a customer, and you are providing customer service. And I think this is such it's worth kind of shining a light on, because these customers are paying down your debt, right? You want them to be happy. You want them to love their landlord, take care of the place, keep it clean, like you said. So I just want to give you, like props for realizing that and saying that. And I think we can't say that enough, because it's easy sometimes to feel like we are, I don't know, providing something and it should be appreciated, which is true, but also like looking at it from the other direction. these tenants pay down a huge portion of your debt in the course of your lifetime. So keep them happy and treat them as customers as you would want to be treated if you were a customer anywhere else. So I just love what you kind of said about that. So I wanted to highlight it. So I want to talk about where you want to go next. And I saw a couple posts of yours, which, I mean, it just goes to show, like you had said, you don't know if you don't ask, but you had made a post that you were looking to potentially explore moving into joint venture partnerships this year after you're done this project. We all run out of money, all of us, no matter how much money we have. And if we want to keep growing, we have to get to that point, right? So I was just really inspired by, you just put it out there and said, you know what, this is what I'm doing. And people were commenting and seeing your work, and it's obvious you can see your work ethic on your posts as well, which goes a long way. But how has that been for you, kind of moving to that next stage?
I actually got 2-3 leads on that post, and I have a meeting tomorrow with one of them, and the first one was really great because this person doesn't live here in Calgary, doesn't necessarily know the market, and can rely on some professionals for that. But as far as being able to optimize rent and really all the strategy that I talk about for optimizing rent by renovating, but not too much because you want to make sure it's good, the property management side, right? Right now, I know that eventually I don't really want to be a big time landlord. I don't want to have so many tenants that I can't do my own property management. And I also really pride myself in being able to vet tenants really well. So I don't foresee issues, and I have different methods in place. Like I have a lockbox at my property screwed in so that if I need to get a plumber there, if I can't be there for any reason, if they need to shut off the water in the basement because out of an emergency, I can tell the tenant, this is the code, go downstairs, shut off the water. I'm terrified of water damage. So a lot of these things, it takes some time, but it takes less time when you have good tenants. I tried to send somebody to do the grass at one of my houses because I was hiring somebody for my other property just to do a weed and feed because I didn't really have much of a lawn growing. And she's like, oh, we already put down grass seed and fed the lawn. And I love them. But, at least I'm also, they know I care about what their place looks like. So I feel like they're going to want to stay until they absolutely don't have to. They're just very comfortable. They know that if something breaks, I'm on it. And even when the shower head broke, it was only like 1.5 years old, but I said, do you want me to come install it? And they said, no, we can install it. So I just delivered it to the door, and, I gave him some plumbing tape, make sure to use the plumbing tape, but he's a mechanic. I trust that he's able to screw that in. So yeah, I've lucked out with the tenants. I don't necessarily see myself as having so many properties that I can't do my own property management at this point. When I assess, have I had any problems in the last while with my tenants, I'm ready to tap out. I have resources if I need to, but I also save so much money. And I also want the responsibility of vetting my tenants myself. There's something to be said by meeting people in person, using your judgment, along with, credit checks and all the other ways to verify for tenancy. So at least if something goes wrong, it's on me, not on another agency. I don't know how much effort they would really put into caring who you put into my house that I renovated, that I poured my soul into, So I do care, and I would like to keep doing that. So I think I bring a lot to the table as far as buying a property that's a little distressed, putting in as little but as much money as necessary to optimize the rent, maintain that property, do the property management. And I really lucked out with my last one. I'm so happy Kim and I were able to snag that one. I think she started realizing the further we went how good of a deal it was, and I'm just like really thankful. Just in the Montgomery area to begin with, it's an amazing area. So I would really like to get into a fourplex or something with more units. And hopefully most of them are rented, one vacant, and we can go and start trying to optimize rent gradually. That's what I would like to see. So I would need a money partner to go in with me to work with me so that we can get that going.
Absolutely. And it's not a mistake, or not a mistake, not surprising to me that the people that reached out were also not even from Calgary. Because guys, there's so much investment coming into Alberta right now. So much. I talk to people from out of province every single day, it feels like. But number one, ask for it, tell people what you're doing, right? I think it's easier in some ways for the younger generation to put it out there, even though you kind of said you weren't tech savvy or whatever you said earlier. But like, I think we're just more comfortable than, someone in the older generations, but it just put it out there. Just tell people what you're doing, right? And the right people will find you. And the reality is these investors from outside of Alberta that are really watching Alberta right now, right now, the only options for them, if they don't know someone like Erica to partner with, is to buy new construction. And I'm a huge fan of new construction. I love it, but it doesn't provide all the options for strategy, right? If someone wants to employ the BRRRR strategy and they live in Vancouver, well, they need to find an Erica to kind of marry your goals and strategies together in order to make it happen. So I love that's what happened, and that's kind of what's occurring. So best of luck with all of that. And of course, we will be supporting you as much as we can along the way to reach these kind of goals. I'm just excited to see where you go with things. You had also mentioned some other strategies that you kind of want to take a look at. What else are you thinking? We talked about BRRRR and that as well, multi-units. I think before we were also talking about possibly vacation rentals.
Yeah, I had looked a few months just before buying this last one. I looked at Canmore just out of curiosity because, I mean, I know the Ontario market very well because I have a lot of friends and family in Ontario. And if anybody follows what's going on there, what's gone there on in the last, I mean, let alone 10 years, but the last year specifically, that's why like investors are coming here and helping our market as well. And the fact that this market's been down so long, I mean, I think it was Russell Westcott in Edmonton that was saying, like there's nowhere but up after 12 years being flat. So whereas everybody else has gone up, we have to equalize. Even if we don't have a big boom here, there's going to be some sort of equalization. So I don't want to miss out on opportunities, which is why, I could wait to save up and get in on my own on a deal, or I could not waste time and do a JV. But yeah, it's just crazy to think that we might be on the up and up. I'm here in Calgary. That is an opportunity that anybody who's listening to this shouldn't take up, like shouldn't miss out on. It's, I think right now is one of the smartest places, one of the most affordable places. We have a lot of immigration coming out here, as well as the East. I know a lot of people are interested out East too, to keep going. But anywhere, I think that right now it's not, the market would need to pick up more for flips. I would always, obviously with my renovation experience, it would be amazing to be able to do a flip. I think I would wait until the market picks up a bit more. I think we're starting to get into the market where you can start flipping, where there's a little bit more of a gap between renovated and unrenovated properties. But rent to own is an amazing strategy. So that would be great to get into. And the vacation rental I saw in Canmore, it was like a dream. You buy a condo, they manage the property like a hotel. So they do the property management and the turnover. So I can't remember what the condo fees or the management fees were for that. I didn't end up looking into it too much, but that will be my goal. So for the next year, I'm going to be saving up aggressively to try to get to that goal, wherever that might be. And eventually I would really like to invest out of country and dip my toes maybe in an ocean somewhere warm in the winter.
Somewhere it's to escape to. Well, the interesting thing about Canmore is like through, Alberta's worst times and everything, Canmore has kind of remained its own little bubble. Of course, there's been better years than others, but like their rent has historically always been incredibly high. There is not a lot of development occurring. And so just low supply, high demand, like basic economics, the mountains are not going anywhere, no matter what happens to Alberta or whatever, right? So it feels very much like a sure thing and has for quite some time when it comes to tourism year round in a Canmore Banff area. and limited development occurring. So I'm with you. I've been watching Canmore for quite a few years too, and just this year got into a couple of opportunities there that I'm excited to jump into the short-term rental game here. But yeah, it seems like you're open to a lot of different strategies and have some really big goals, and but also are like doing such a good job at like working on what's in front of you, and just kind of taking that step by step too, because it can be scary if you're worried about where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years, right? Like I think
well, somebody recently asked me, they asked me two things. How do you have the time to focus on this project? And I said, well, for one, I work shift work, I have 4 or 5 days off in a row. That's a big opportunity. I'm not wasting it. So I work high workloads, high reward when I'm off. So I've said, I'll work hard for a month and a half on this house, get it rented, and then I can reward myself, and I'll be getting set for years to come with that property. So I figured that's how I kind of do it in increments. And then what was the other one that I lost track? What was your comment before?
Just the kind of step by step in front of you, right?
They said, in front of you. Some people, because she was looking for a JV partner, and some investors are just, they want to collect as many doors as possible. Yeah. And there can be something said, it's great to be ambitious, but at the same time, real estate isn't risk-free. And there are things that can go wrong, and you have to prepare yourself for them. That's why financially, I want to make sure I'm set, that I have a good reserve fund to tap into for doomsday. And the thing for me is focusing on one project at a time. I'm only one person. I don't have a team yet. I don't, I'm capable of a lot, but I also want to be able to focus. You don't want to be distracted because you have too many properties, too many doors, and you can't invest your time. And as a JV partner, I can really understand why I would want somebody who can focus on my property that I'm working with you, instead of 5 other JV partners you have going. So yeah, one at a time to focus on. And the property management is kind of a judgment call for me as I keep progressing. And yeah.
That's awesome. And I think it's easy to get, for investors who are maybe just starting out, to kind of think, oh, like I'm not successful unless I have 100 doors or something, because some of these podcasts and things that people watch, it seems so intimidating and so huge, when the reality is, like, most people that invest in real estate don't necessarily need or even want to get to that level, right? They're trying to take it a little slower. They like their job. They're not trying to necessarily replace their job, but they want some security and some income along the side, so they have some control in their life as they go through their years. So I think that's really smart. And you're right. When things go wrong, they tend to go wrong altogether. Like
numbers we're playing with
go at once. It seems like that's how it goes. So making sure that you're planning for those rainy days and setting up those funds. I think that's one of the largest things I hear about where people get into trouble, is they did not build that reserve fund up. That has to be done right away. I tend to like to just leave the property for at least a year, build up a reserve fund, don't take a dime out, and let that give me that security, so that I have that sleep at night fund, I call it, so you're not worried about things. So that's very cool. Is there any advice you kind of want to give to, someone who's just getting going or hasn't got into something like this before, they're thinking about investing in real estate, maybe have some of that fear, or they're, younger even, and feel, oh, I can't do that till I'm older, or something like that, because you've accomplished a lot for your age, and that you work full time. You have a lot going on. So what advice would you give to, maybe one of your friends who is thinking, oh my gosh, this looks interesting. Like, what should I do?
I have one of my friends who's interested, actually, and he's like, I don't know who you are anymore. Like, I don't know if you're my friend or you should be on TED Talk. And I'm like, when you're passionate about a subject, it can get a little TED Talk like. But I've heard time and time again in the podcast, I told him he's at square one. He read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I'm like, listen to podcasts, learn about the different strategies. He's never heard about BRRRR. I'm like, learn about ways to make money. But also in these podcasts, I find they're very uplifting and motivating, but also a lot of people will spend a lot of time listening to them and not doing. And
Yeah.
you learn more by doing. I've heard that on the podcast too. People are like, how did you get started? It's like, I was studying for like 2 years how to make money in real estate, but I learned more in the 1 year that I actually started physically doing it.
That's
and
right.
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Just put some leads out there. Go. He's like, I have no money. He's like, I have to buy like, there's other ways there. You just have to educate yourself and give yourself value. You have to invest in yourself. And I mean, I was lucky, I think, with the renovations. I really had a heads up. Not everybody has that. Or the dishwasher breaks, they're going to replace it instead of get a repairman, or
Right.
see that it just needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So taking the first step is probably the scariest, right? Whether it's buying your first home or moving out of your home and being a landlord for the first time. But there are so many resources out there. I reached out to you knowing that you were known very well in Calgary, and I said, I need a lease. I asked somebody else. I thought it was too basic. I'm like, I need a lease, and you sent me your lease, and I've revised it, and things will keep changing. I just got off the phone with the landlord credit bureau because I'll be reporting my rent to them from my tenants, because they're all okay with it. They really want to have their credit go up because of their biggest payment every month. So yeah, and they were saying they'll even send me the portion for the lease to put in there to talk about the landlord credit bureau. And I was like, that's fantastic. The resources are out there, but if you're not looking and you're just dreaming, like some people are like, oh, I'm going to come into some money and I'd love to get into real estate, but they just talk and they don't want to do. They don't even want to come out and see. I have a house. I would love anybody reach out to me. I would love to bring you in the house and I'll show you, this is what the listing pictures were. This is what it looked like. This is what I decided to do. If I want to do a little bit less, I would do these things. If I want to do a little bit more, I would do these things. I will gladly walk anybody through. And I have no one most of my friends have not even seen my new house. And I sleep there on my days off because instead of commuting. So while I'm working there for 4 or 5 days in a row, I just crash there on an air mattress when it's not too dusty. When you're sanding and patching is not recommended. So now I'm at the tail end. Yeah, so I'm a resource. You're a resource that I've used. Kim, who works with you closely, is a resource. I've used several people, and people don't realize what's in front of them or what's accessible, because I just asked you. You could have said, no, I don't really have one, or I don't feel comfortable sharing that, but you said yes and you sent it over. It's a simple request, and there's so many things to tap into. So just reach out.
Absolutely. The investor community, for the most part, I find is just so helpful. Like, and if I wouldn't have been able to provide you with something, I probably would have known someone who could, like, oh, I know this person does that, like, try them. Right. Yes, such good advice, you guys. If no one takes her up on this opportunity to go check out her house, I will be very sad. But take her up. Use the resources that are here in this group. There are so many people doing so many cool things here, and also tell other people what you're doing or what you even want to do. And just get the message out there. Tell people what you're doing, and use all the resources that are out there. Since COVID, the world before that was so accessible for this information. Now it's even 10 times more accessible, I find, across the whole country. No matter what strategy you're looking to do or where you're looking to invest, you can find people who will want to help you and collaborate and, answer questions for you. So that's an incredible opportunity, you guys.
I'll also add, I'll put this out there. If somebody wants to just know what's going on in my reno and my strategy and everything, I'll gladly take the time to walk you through it. But also, if anybody's interested in actually learning skills, that's also a big way to do it. If I knew somebody and I didn't know how to, put in new stair treads or flooring or what have you, helping out somebody for an hour or two, you could learn a new skill. You could realize, oh my God, well, now I have this. So at least in every place I get, I can at least change the floors or something like that, or change the light fixtures. A lot of people don't know how to do that. Super simple. I can take 2 minutes to explain it to you. So I know things, and I love sharing these things because I'm passionate about it. So if you want to come over and learn how to, I'm doing some stair treads today, some new oak stair treads and risers. And I can't remember what else I have on the docket for today, but I will be doing some staining and things like that. So yeah, you can definitely
That
share knowledge.
that is such a good opportunity as well. No different than when your dad, when you were 10 years old, had you up on the roof, right? It's the same thing. My dad was the same thing too. So yeah, help people out, get out there, learn something, learn a skill, put yourself to work. And what that does is it builds confidence, right? It builds confidence to ask questions, to explore, to meet people, to network, and to actually learn something that can be applicable. So that is an incredible piece of advice, I think, to wrap all this up nicely with a bow. I am just so thankful you came on today and are telling people what you're doing. I'm so impressed by you, and cannot wait to see what else you do in the future. And please, guys, if you're looking for an incredible joint venture partner, I know that she will absolutely crush it. So please reach out to Erica. And yeah, is there any kind of last words you want to impart, or good there? Or how can people reach you if they want to reach out to you? Should I type in maybe an email or something in the comments of the group, or?
I can give you my email. It's Cormier, REI@gmail.com. And I'm also Invested Erica on Facebook. So I do have, I changed all my posts to public now that I know people want to see my work. So not all my posts, but most of my posts for my renovations. So if you want, you can check me out on Invested Erica on Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. So we will tag that in the comments here, so you can reach out to Erica, give her a call, take her up on all this advice, you guys. This is just a great opportunity, and it's free. Like, go out there, get stuff done. And I just can't thank you enough. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.